Hey everybody, I'm Curtis.
And I'm Hannah.
And this is Love at First Fright. When you go to the carnival or fair or I guess circus, although maybe lesser extent circus, what is like the thing you look forward to most?
Ooh, good question. I've never been to a circus.
Okay.
But I have been to many like carnivals and
You don't
fairs.
need to go to a circus.
I like the fun house.
That's what you look forward to most, is the mirrors and stuff.
I think they're fun. I also like we were talking about this recently because there's a little fair that came to the movie theater that's near our house. It's in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I kind of like the rickety ass rides that are held together with duct tape.
Nope. You're never going to see me on that.
It's a thrill. Like, I feel alive.
That's literally a Final Destination movie waiting to happen.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where, like, fate wants to be, like, ironic. So when you're on something that is a death trap, it's like, we're going to let this skate.
Nope. Because it still has to assert that it's not a death trap if it never kills anyone.
True.
So it does have to kill somebody.
At least once.
At least once, but like probably more likely periodically so that we don't forget.
No, I think they're fun. When I was in high school, there was this little like park, like town square area in the town that I grew up in, and they would often get a carnival that would come through there and like set up in like this like gravelly parking lot part.
Yeah.
And they always had this one ride that was kind of like a little mini Ferris wheel, but it just had like one wheel that had like 3 or 4 like plane shaped things that would just go in a circle. And I got on that one time, and quite literally the carnival worker closed the door, then leaned in through the open window and duct taped it, and then was like, have fun. And you know what? I did.
That's a nightmare. That is a nightmare scenario.
What do you look forward to?
I really like my strongest memories, I guess, are doing the ring toss thing for a goldfish. I never win. Yeah. Although I did win one time when I was really young, and it was the longest living goldfish I've ever had. Or fish, period.
Nice.
They got really big. It's kind of a side tangent. That fish got dropped down a garbage disposal.
What the
hell? When my mom was like cleaning the tank one time. He lived. It was fine. Like, it wasn't on. He just fell in there, and then she got him back out, but she was freaking out when it happened.
Jesus.
But he kept growing, so we kept having to give him bigger tanks, and then he finally died.
Aww.
But he lived for, like, a long time.
What was his name?
I don't remember. It was probably, like, Goldie or something. He wasn't, like, a prized fish. We just, like, he was a goldfish.
Wow.
He was, he was all right.
You have really ostracized our goldfish audience members.
I mean, like, nobody's favorite pet is a goldfish.
I think that is wrong. I'm sure someone out there is like, this goldfish is right. The only thing keeping me together.
All the 5-year-olds currently listening, I'm sorry for offending you about your favorite pet. Wait until you get a dog.
If you're a fish lover, sorry. This is not a safe space.
You can be a fish lover. I'm saying, like, fish lovers, I don't think their favorite fish is a goldfish. They would, like, their favorite fish is going to be almost any other fish.
Yeah. Okay. My dad used to keep fish, and I don't think he ever had a goldfish.
See? Case in point.
Because it was, he had, like, what are cichlids? Does that sound like a fish?
No, you're asking I didn't even remember the name of my pet goldfish, and you're asking me if this sounds like a fish type.
He'll text me after he listens to this. Yeah. I actually do like the games too. I was never good at the ring toss one, but I liked the one where you had like the water gun.
Was it where it had the 2 buttons and
yeah.
you had to like aim it? Yeah, I was always really good at those. I liked the dunk tank a lot. I played baseball when I was younger, so I was actually fairly
had a
good
good arm.
at, like, you know, throwing and aiming it, so I could dunk the person.
Yeah.
But, I like those. But if we're talking about like rides, I feel like at the the county fair that I went to, there was like, it was like a little buggy thing that you got in, and it was like a really short ride, and it just like took you through. It looked kind of like a haunted house.
Okay.
But it wasn't really a haunted house. It was just like vaguely scary.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Probably
had like glow in the dark paint.
Yeah. And I really liked whatever they call it. It's I guess it's like the fun house or whatever, but it's the one where it has like the clear walls in it. And you try to get through without like slamming.
Yeah, that's like the fun house.
Yeah.
I always liked the fun house. There was one carnival I went to that had, it was a fun house, but it was also like scary themed. They didn't have like live actors or anything, but that was kind of cool because it was like you were in the dark, and you know there's loud like lightning effects and stuff happening, so you feel the pressure to like go through faster.
Yeah.
I think those are fun.
Did you ever go to like the House of Oddities or whatever, where they had like the 2-headed calf?
I would have loved that. I don't think I've ever been to a carnival that advertised that.
I loved it because it was one of those things. It was like the last time I'd gone, I think, anyway. So you paid for tickets to get on the rides, but the House of Oddities was never one thing you could use tickets on. You had to pay.
It was
money
its own
to get
thing.
them. But it was like $2 a person to walk through this thing, and you knew it was kind of shitty because there was never a line for it, right?
No.
So you just walked up, you gave, I guess, a carnival worker, it could have been anybody, $2, and they were like, all right, head on in. And then you walked in, and it was usually the worst looking, or at least not well upkept oddities. And by that I mean like a 2-headed calf that was like in embalming fluid or something like that, but it looked like somebody had sewn the second head on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, see, I don't even know if those are like legit oddities.
And I don't think they are.
Yeah.
Which is why it's $2 to get it.
Right.
Because if they're like $20 and you can see, you know, an actual rare snake or something like that. It would be pretty odd. Hey,
give me $20, I'll let you take a look at my snake.
Hey, did you ever see a dead body? I feel like that a lot of the oddities, though, did boil down to it's a 2-headed animal, and isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And I'm like, weirder. Yeah, I mean, it is weird, but like, also, there's got to be other things.
Yeah.
There was also, this was, I think, separate. Oh no, I think it was part of it, but like it was always like a weird building, and you walk through that, and they had all this stuff in like, you know, various boxes or whatever. And then when you went out, there was like it looked like a building to the rest of the fair, but on the back side of it, there was like a clear wall, like a big window wall. And inside of it was like supposed to be like a bearded lady, I guess, but they were just like in a room with like a TV and like a Papa John's pizza, just like hanging out or whatever, just like chilling.
Are you sure this is a real place you went?
Yeah,
not
like a weird fever dream.
Yeah.
No, this is a real thing where like it was the person in there. Maybe it wasn't a bearded lady. Maybe it was supposed to be weirder than that, but I don't think it was. I think it was just like basically just a person who was just sitting in like half of a room, just like in like a recliner watching TV, eating like a pizza, and you just walked past them, and like they would acknowledge you because they could see out of it, but it was just like it was just like a brightly fluorescent lit room that they were just sitting in, and it looked like half of a living room. It was weird.
Okay,
it's an oddity.
It is an oddity. I'll give you that. I don't know. I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, well, you know.
I guess
you're not going to the right fair.
Yeah, I guess my local
or
fairs.
I'm truly giving $2 to people that do not work at the fair.
Take a hit of this, then walk down this hallway. You're gonna see some things.
Anyway, we're talking about fairs and carnivals because segue. We we watched Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, it was a movie.
It's a movie. I mean, it's a cult classic.
It is a cult classic.
Yeah.
I want to kind of preface it and say that, like, I think so. We came up with the same score, like averaged out across everything. I think for a cult following movie, and we can talk about this a little bit more, it's better than what the rating implies. Right. No, I know what you mean. It's like a cult following movie. You know, it's like what is it? Is it The Room? Yeah. Or whatever. Like, that's a trash movie. That's a 2-star movie, but it's also a 10-star. But you have to watch it, kind of a thing. So anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely very campy. Yeah. It's very of its time, you know. But I'll say. It actually feels like it should be older because it was released in 1988. Yeah. And it feels like a year later, right, is when The Lost Boys came out. And these feel like they're on different planets. Yeah. But anyway.
It does, now that you mention it, it gives early 80s vibes, not late 80s vibes.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is interesting.
But yeah, it's a 1988 horror sci-fi comedy, and comedy is a big part of it. You know, the movie isn't taking itself too seriously. No. They're having fun with this. They're kind of picking, they're poking a little bit of fun at horror and sci-fi and like cranking it up to 11, which I think is why it has stood the test of time. If this movie was earnestly trying to be scary, I think people would have forgotten about it by now. Yeah. But you know, it keeps living on, and this one was it was written, directed, produced, basically everything by the Chiodo brothers, Stephen, Charles, and Edward. Stephen Chiodo is the only one who is billed as directing it, but they all helped at various. This is their, you know, concept and their baby. And before this movie, the Chiodo brothers were known for being like really talented special effects artists, which I think is very prevalent in this movie because the you know, the costuming of the clowns and even like the props and everything, they did honestly really good work. And I think that is another thing that kind of helps it even though it's bad. Like it's also like, but that's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, like it's so weird. It's a bad movie. Like, it's a B movie. Yeah. But
watch my B
movie. What?
Jerry Seinfeld. Oh my
God. It's a B movie. But it's like, you could put it on with your friends and you would absolutely have a blast watching it more than once. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah, honestly, I was reading and I wasn't aware of this until I was putting together some of my notes, that I guess there are a lot of places that do midnight showings of this, kind of like Rocky Horror Picture Show, where there's like kind of a whole like talk back and participation element.
It's exactly that.
That is perfect to me. Like, I would love to go to one of those. I think it's exactly the right kind of just like funny and silly and, you know, it's camp.
It's got that 80s problematic dialogue in there.
Yes, it does. And it's got a banging theme song that was made for this. Yep. Very good. But yeah, so that's the movie. We do have I'll shout out some of the cast members here. We have Grant Kramer, Suzanne Snyder, John Allen Nelson, John Vernon, Michael Siegel, Peter Licassi, Royal Dano, Christopher Titus, and then Charles Chiodo, one of the brothers. He plays one of the clowns at one point, so he's also good.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I love that kind of stuff.
The Clownzilla, like the big one.
The big one.
That's Charles.
Fun.
Yeah, so that's our cast, and just to give you kind of a little like plot hook here in case you aren't familiar with it. This movie is about two teenagers, Mike and Debbie, who see a comet crash outside their sleepy small town. So they decide to investigate and discover a pack of murderous aliens who look like circus clowns. They do try to warn local authorities, but everyone assumes that their story is a prank. Meanwhile, the clowns set about harvesting and eating as many people as they can. So it is a horror movie, but it also is aliens. And that was a little fun piece of trivia I saw too, is that I guess when the movie, when they were first putting it out, it was originally just called Killer Klowns, but they decided to add in From Outer Space because it was kind of testing where people assumed it was a slasher flick.
I see.
And not a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I could totally see why you would think it's a slasher just based off Killer Klowns. Adding the From Outer Space does a lot, though.
It does.
You know, like, it does indicate this isn't a slasher. It also strongly indicates this is going to be a silly, like, B-movie thing.
I agree. And they also say the name of the movie in the movie, which I always like.
Pretty early on, too, which I love. I love that.
Yeah, so it's super fun. It's, you know, it's just like a classic... I don't know why I would say classic tale, but I feel like it is.
A tale as old as time!
Exactly. Of like the two teens that like have stumbled into something, but then nobody believes them, but actually they were right the whole time. And, you know.
One of the great epics. The Gilead.
Yep.
The Odyssey.
Yep.
Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
I always put those together.
Yeah, no, but, it follows kind of like three main characters. Yeah, you have the two teen lovers, which are Mike and Debbie.
Yeah.
And
then Debbie's ex-boyfriend, who is also a local police officer. Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned at the end of the movie that Mike's full name is Mike Tobacco.
Which is great.
Nobody calls him that in the movie. That is the greatest name for a character I've ever heard.
The best.
It's so good.
Mike Tobacco.
It's so good. And they don't say it.
No.
That's a little Easter egg for if you made it all the way through the movie. You get to learn that his name is Mike Tobacco.
Very special.
At one point, Dave calls Debbie Little Debbie in there.
Which was so funny to me.
Funny.
I had like completely forgotten about that, and he just is just like, and it was so casual. Like he was just like, I can't believe this would happen to Little Debbie. And I'm like, from the snacks?
But yeah, no, the movie is like I said, it's a comedy horror, so it is supposed to be funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny dialogue.
And it is. It does come across as just being very humorous, not like riotously funny or anything like that, but like the concepts that you're seeing, the tropes and everything are very funny.
And like 90% of this movie is basically showing off different ways that you can use like clown tropes and clown humor to kill somebody.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we have the clown car, we have the shadow puppets, we have popcorn, we have like everything you can think of.
They throw pies on a guy until he literally melts into a pile of goo.
So like they're just basically like, what is something clown related and how do we make that a method of murder?
Yeah, there's all sorts of silly things. One of my favorite things from it is there's I can't remember what his name is. All the clowns have names. If you look them up, I can't remember. He's the shortest one, and he comes riding up on like a tricycle to this like biker gang, and they're all laughing at him, and some stuff happens, but like the clown puts on these boxing gloves like he wants to fight the lead biker guy, and the guy's like, what are you gonna do, knock my block off? And then he goes and then he punches his head and it flies off.
It literally just flies
and
off.
Everyone starts screaming. Like, it's just ridiculous and silly.
All of the kills are stuff like that,
and it's not like
goofy.
Bloody or gory or anything.
No,
like there's
really.
not blood spurts or anything like that. He punches the head off. You see like the neck
it's
hole.
A clean cut,
but yeah, his head just like flies into like a dumpster or something like that, and then the body collapses and everyone screams, and that's it.
And when the body collapses, it folds. It was so funny. It reminded me of like any video game that has any kind of like actual physics to it, where
it's the Oblivion.
Yes, the NPCs physics. Just immediately
like
fold into the weirdest positions. Like he did that, but for real.
Yep.
Yeah. So obviously this movie's silly. It's super fun, and I do just want to say, I know we already kind of acknowledged there are some off-color jokes in there.
It's straight up problematic.
Yeah.
Like that right at the beginning of the movie when they go to find it, Mike and Debbie think it's like a meteor or like a comet that has crashed.
They see it like go through the sky, so like, oh, let's go like try to find the site where it crashed. So that'll be cool.
When they get to this like gated off area after like driving for some time to come find it, Mike gets out of the car, hops up onto the hood of his car.
He's like in a squat position.
In a squat position, and then he does a like terrible impression of like a Native American like chief or tracker or
He's
something.
Like referring to himself as chief in the third person.
Yeah.
It's funny because like all of the problematic jokes were told by Mike within like a 10-minute period.
Yeah, he's like rattling them off.
It was like they were just thinking, all right, how can we offend as many people as possible? Speed run.
Yeah.
Right now. Because like very shortly after, he makes like a slightly transphobic joke, and then he's like making fun of eating disorders.
Yeah,
and
it's when they first get to the circus tent. He starts like doing like the circus like crier or whatever, and he's like saying the attractions that they have, but they're like, you know,
all they're problematic.
They're really problematic stuff. But like that's kind of it. They like front load all of that, and then
they're
like no more for the rest of it.
Yeah, they're like, we're cool now. We got it out of our system. So obviously know that going into it. You know, everyone's gonna react to that differently. To me, the jokes were so stupid and over the top that I didn't find the content of the jokes funny, but it was funny in that like, oh my god, I can't believe someone would write this and put it in a movie kind of way.
Yes, they're just kind of absurd. That it's a thing. And I know like when we look back at older movies, we have to look at it through like the lens of like the time.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
Obviously, that stuff was accepted back then, and so it was just deemed okay, and it wasn't.
Right. I don't think they were like trying to be hateful.
No.
But over time, you know, it definitely doesn't hold up. I wouldn't make those jokes now.
I also think there's a discussion to be had about like when a character in a movie has dialogue that is offensive and like, but like how it's meant to be, right? Like, like I don't think either of us are saying that you can't ever have a character say offensive things if that's what like the character is supposed to be, right?
Exactly.
Like if you have a racist character, it makes sense that they would say racist things. But if you just have somebody who is needlessly racist and it doesn't serve anything,
and they're not like supposed to be within the context of the film,
then that's when it hits problematic.
Yeah, but definitely.
Anyway, this is like right on that.
It's a little questionable, you know. So keep that in mind. It's very 80s. It's very B movie. It's very...
And because of that, we've both given the movie a 1. That's the review. No. But yeah, no, they front load that right at the start. I'm going to rant here for a minute about something because I'm sick and tired of it. And I'm pissed off.
Wow.
This was the kind of like straw that broke the camel's back for me. I have, in my time of watching movies, and I've seen a number of them. I don't know how many, and it doesn't matter.
It's certainly a number.
It's certainly a number of movies. In the hundreds, likely.
Thousands?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't know that I've seen even 1,000 movies. That's a lot of movies.
Okay.
But I have yet to see a movie where there is a character whose name is Curtis, my name. And there's a cop in this movie. He's introduced as Kurt.
Yes.
But his full name is Curtis.
Curtis Mooney.
Curtis Mooney. He's a dick.
Yeah.
I hate him.
He's a big ol' asshole.
You're supposed to hate him.
Yeah.
He's not a good guy.
No.
I've yet to see a movie where there's a character named Curtis that doesn't get killed in some fashion or isn't a jerk. Those are the only...
Who are the other Curtis jerks that you...
The one that I can like really think of off the top of my head is Meg 2, The Trench. There is a character in that named Curtis. There's one of the people who goes down into the trench, and as they're walking along the bottom, her face mask gets cracked, and then there's that whole race against the clock thing to get her inside.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, her name's Curtis. She dies a horrible death.
Yeah.
It doesn't... I'm challenging you now. Go look up a movie with a character named Curtis in it, and they don't have something fucking terrible happen to them, or they're not a terrible person. And it's starting to feel personal. I get my hopes up every time I watch a movie and somebody's name is Kurt or Curtis, and it's, you know, if it's short for Curtis, not K. Kurt, that's a whole different name. Thing. That person can be a jerk. I don't know them.
No affiliation.
Yeah, no affiliation, no relation. But when their name is Kurt, short for Curtis or Curtis, and they die horribly or they're a jerk, it makes me feel bad. Like somebody's out there being like, I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. Like,
they're your number one op.
Like, it's messed up. What did I do to them?
I don't know. That's an interesting little pattern that I can't say I've noticed. But certainly this guy was a big ol' asshole.
Yeah, he was a jerk.
Yeah, he's one of the town cops, so it's not Dave, but it's Dave's like older curmudgeonly.
He's one of the town cops in a town that appears to only have 2 cops.
Exactly, 2 cops. Yeah.
No, it's 3. It's 3. They actually do talk about this. The chief is like out for the weekend.
Yeah,
he's like on vacation.
He's
or
away.
Something or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's at least 3 cops.
Yes, and one of them is a chief. Yeah. but yeah, so Curtis Mooney, he's older, but he's still like a beat cop, you know. But he is such a dirtbag. Like literally from the first moment you meet him, he's just, I think his first line is like, what does he call that one guy? He's like, look at this sack of shit or something.
Yeah, he calls him like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, it's like a young dude, probably a teenager, like 17 or something. I don't know how old the kids are supposed to be, but he's like walking across the street while actively drinking a beer.
Yeah.
So like open container stuff or whatever. And he sees the kid, but I guess he doesn't see the beer because he's like hiding it behind a bag or something like that. But like, yeah, he's in his car, his patrol car, and he sees the kid walking across the street, and he's like, that piece of shit, or whatever. Yeah. And then the next time we see him, he's escorting these 2 punks into the police station. Yeah. And they were just drinking some wine in the park. That's what they say. Now, we don't actually know what they were doing, but I'll take them at their word because Mooney's kind of an asshole. Yeah. But yeah, he's just like, he's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of him kind of deal.
He's literally like threatening them and being like, I'm gonna, bury you under the jail. And all
Dave's
this stuff.
like, hey bud,
like maybe let's fucking take a breath. Like,
and I guess there's this like contention between Dave and Officer Mooney because Dave comes from this like academy training.
Yeah,
but like Officer Mooney doesn't have any of that. So I'm just like, okay, where the fuck did he come from?
Yeah. Maybe he went to like some prestigious, I
don't think he did. I think his dad was on the force and he's like nepotismed into it. But like he's such a shitty cop. Yep. That like he's never gonna get anywhere.
Exactly. Yep. But they have this whole thing of where Dave is like, he's like lawful good. Yeah. And the other guy, I don't even know what he would be. He's not lawful.
He's not on the fucking chart. He's just a dick. Yeah, he exists outside of it, which is good because he has probably one of the most memorable like deaths. Yes. Like gags of the whole movie.
It was satisfying that he's like definitely the biggest asshole character, and he got like the most like brutal of endings. Yeah. But yeah, that guy's a total dick. He just assumes like, because a big part of the contention of this movie is after Debbie and Mike have encountered the what looks clowns. Like a big top, but it's a spaceship, and there are killer clowns in there. They narrowly escape with their lives, and they immediately go to the police station to be like, we saw dead people, like something's going on. And I mean, to be fair, Mike doesn't really believe, or Dave doesn't really believe them either. But Dave's not being like a total jerk about it. Like, he's like, calm down, tell me what's going on, start from the beginning.
I guess the issue is like, at first he is being that way, but you find out that I think his motivations for doing that are kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Because he is Debbie's ex-boyfriend.
And so there's like this level of jealousy because she's with Mike now.
Yeah. And like, they go to check out where the big top was supposed to be after dropping Debbie off at her house because like she's a woman and shouldn't go do this, I guess. Yeah. But Dave makes Mike ride in the back of the patrol car just
even though it's just the two of them.
Yeah, so they drive back up to the point. Mike doesn't want to go there because he's freaked out, but he goes with him. And when they go, the big top's not there anymore. So then Dave like arrests Mike for doing this big prank thing.
Right.
But then on the way, I guess back, they stop by what's called the top of the world.
It's like a lover's lane.
It's a makeout point. Yeah. You know, like the old classic, we go drive up, you can see down into the town kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although I think theirs was just looking into the woods. I don't think you could see anything.
I don't really know
anyway,
why it was called Top of the World.
But they go back, when they go to this scene, like, it's all trashed, and Dave finds this cotton candy substance that Mike had been telling him about. And so he starts to believe Mike. Yeah. And that's kind of where things...
Yeah. So then he's, like, actually on board after that. Oh, and fun fact I learned about that Jeep that was covered in the cotton candy. Yeah. Apparently, because they really didn't have a big budget for this movie, they rented that car... And they, like, put all that stuff in there thinking, like, we'll be able to just clean it out and it'll be fine. They fucked it right up. There was so much damage to the car.
This thing, like, it was truly, like, filled with this
to
cotton
the brim
candy
with cotton candy.
It's a great effect.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Don't do that to a rental.
Don't do your your car. Don't do it unless you really want that. And you're willing to pay for the rental. Yes. But yeah, so I think this movie does some fun stuff. You mentioned like a lot of the special effects, particularly the costuming and the props and stuff. They are really like iconic stuff to the point where this is such a beloved like cult classic movie and has such a following. They're making a video game which is going to come out the day after this episode releases on the 4th. And there's the models for the clowns, the weapons, even some of the locations and stuff are like so iconic that they've put them into the game, so you can use those things in the game, and they feel really cool, even though they're like goofy and weird. Like how they capture the people so that they can drink their blood or whatever it is they're doing with them. Is they have these like little ray gun blasters, but they shoot out this pink cotton candy stuff, and it puts them into a big cocoon of cotton candy. Yeah, and then they go hang them up inside their ship, and then they can just puncture it with a straw and drink their blood. Yep. And I guess just being in the cotton candy is lethal.
I guess so. I don't really know exactly what happens to you in the cotton candy. They pull the cotton candy off at certain points to reveal like a, face underneath.
It's always as right a scare.
On the face. Yeah, they know exactly where that face is at. But they already look like weird and gelatinous, so it almost makes me think that like you go in the cotton candy and then it just like liquidates you or something. Like I don't know exactly, because they do. We see a clown puncture it with a silly straw and then slurp out some viscera.
This is kind of what I mean by like this movie is just like it's a really silly fun time. There's no reason for the straw that the clown uses to look like that. No, it is truly one of those crazy straws that has like all the twists and bends and stuff in it. Yep. And he just puts it in there and then slurps the blood up through it. There's no reason for it to do that.
And it has so many loops and everything that it takes like a while to even get to his lips because it has to work through so many loop-de-loops.
Maybe it's like wine and it's like aerating it as he's slurping it up. And he's like, yes, a good vintage.
Decanting.
Yes, he's decanting the blood. But like, I mean, a lot of the stuff on the ship, there's a point where two characters fall into like a ball pit that's on the ship. It just appears to be a ball pit.
Yeah, nothing bad really happens to them.
But that scene's just weird for like a couple of reasons. Yeah, they fall into a ball pit, which is inside the spaceship, so you would think if there was like a death trap or something, that would be it. But no, it's just a ball pit. But then when they fall in, there's these two clowns that are sitting like on the edge of the ball pit looking at them.
But they're lady clowns.
They're lady clowns, and we know this because their boobs inflate like balloons and get really big. And the two characters that fall in ask if they're Debbie's roommates. And then you would think, based on everything up to this point, those guys are definitely dead,
Big time dead.
Nope. They somehow get back out of the ship and get the ice cream truck that they drove to the Big Top in, and are able to slam through the wall of the Big Top and to like kind of save the day.
They're covered in kiss marks, so I guess they just like got to second base with these clowns from outer space.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah, it's just really weird.
Yeah, those are the Terenzi brothers. They're Mike's like best friends, and they're these, you know, like they're not like bad kids, like they're not like punks, but they're definitely, you know, they're rapscallions. Like they have this, they get introduced to us like in an ice cream truck. And they like talk about, you know, they have a little back and forth between the two of them about how this was a stupid idea. Well, you know, it was your idea. You said we could get girls like this. And, you know, like they're like kind of girl crazy, but they have no game. And they're just like very non-serious. But they're kind of like comedic relief. They have a lot of little punchy one-liners and stuff. But yeah, they also help out Mike because when he finally is trying to like get back to Debbie and Debbie has been captured by the clowns, he runs into the Terenzi brothers and they help him, you know, chase her down.
Yeah, they use the ice cream truck to chase them down.
Yeah,
the movie has a lot of, like, I don't know if it's half the movie, but a solid chunk of the movie is just what are different creative ways we can have the clowns kill people.
Yeah.
And they are all different and weird and generally pretty funny.
Yeah.
How they work. You know, there's the knock my block off one. There was I think one of the other iconic ones in like the montage of them going through the town is the pizza box delivery one.
Yeah.
Where they're literally just holding like a stack of pizza boxes and then they open it up and the little one's inside the pizza and he has the little ray gun. There's the puppet show, which happens. That one to me is one of the funniest ones because of like the context around it.
Yeah, that one was like bizarre.
A dude in the park by himself and he goes up to this gazebo that has the little puppet stand
there's
set
like
up
a puppet show going on,
and you know the puppet show's happening and the guy's just standing there kind of laughing to himself, but he also looks like I don't know if he looks like
here. Bothered to be there. And I'm like, brother, you were walking through this park of your own free will.
You could just leave.
You entered the gazebo. Like, don't enter the gazebo and then roll your eyes.
Yeah.
No wonder they killed you.
that whole part of it is so funny to me. But then one of my favorite parts is the puppets that the clown has. The expressions on the puppets change.
Yeah.
And they're not like movable felt face puppets. They're like little clay balls or something, like wooden balls with like, you know, hard features on them. So like they shouldn't be able to change how they do, but they do like change to look scared or angry or whatever until the clown pops up. It's so stupid.
Very stupid. And also I do have to say, especially if you are like a person who's afraid of clowns, I think that the special effects on the clowns are really good. Like I think they look really good and scary. On it, like low-key, even though it's a very funny movie, if you're scared of clowns, you should just sit this one out. Because I think it would honestly be disturbing.
No, absolutely it would be. There's a lot of time spent on close-ups of the clowns' faces.
Yes.
As they're like, you know, laughing or whatever. And they do just genuinely look really good.
Yeah. They have very like exaggerated features. And my understanding is that it was primarily like rubber masks and stuff that the Kyoto brothers like handcrafted. So there is a, like, you can tell that it's a mask. Like, it has a sort of plasticky, rubbery look to it that doesn't look, like, organic. but they put so much detail into it that it still feels very immersive.
I also think it's one of those things that, like, it doesn't necessarily look organic, but I don't think that's a problem, because there's a point towards the end of this movie where the characters are wandering through the big top spaceship, and they're kind of spitballing, like, why the clowns are here and doing all of this, and they just throw out a bunch of ideas. Like, maybe they're an ancient civilization that, like, visited us a long time ago, and they saw the clowns back then, or whatever, and then whatever, you know, or like they came and then we saw them, and then our clowns are based on them. Or maybe they're just here to get, like, a little snack as they, like, cruise through the galaxy or something like that. But they don't really spend that much time on it. And this is one of my things with, like, horror movies in general, that I really don't like when movies spend a lot of time trying to explain a concept, and in particular with movies that are like this, these B movies, cult things. If they had spent any actual serious time trying to do this, I think this movie would have been terrible, because we would have spent like 15 minutes of characters doing some montage scene on the, you know, at the library.
Yep, researching
whatever, and then figuring out that the clowns are whatever. We find out that the weakness to the clowns is you gotta pop their nose.
Yep.
Because Dave shoots one in the nose.
Mm-hmm.
And then he explains to the other characters they can be killed, you just gotta hit them in the nose.
Yep.
To do it. We get the characters spitballing why the clowns are here, but we never get an answer to that question.
No, I mean, we know that they want to eat humans, but that's about it.
Yep. And we don't even know, like one question you might have when you do this, because, like, they do the pizza delivery gag. They do the knock my block off thing. Like, the one rides up on the tricycle, right? These are gags that require a knowledge of, like, human social structure and etiquette to, like, be funny and, like, work the way they do.
Right.
And it raises the question of, like, so have the clowns been, like, have they done this before? Have they been here before? Yeah. Like, how do they have this level of understanding? Or is it truly just, like, this, Deadpool-esque, like, fourth wall breaking, like, they just have this cosmically infinite bag of gags that will always be the thing that they kind of need for that moment, kind of a thing.
Well, like, one moment that I really grappled with that question of, like, so do they just, like, know about, like, human Earth culture? There's a point pretty early on, they haven't really, like, really gotten into killing people yet, but the reason they go out into the town is because Mike and Debbie get away and they pursue them. And we see this one clown that is walking down a street, and he passes by a, like, little corner store that has this like animatronic gorilla outside of it, and he sees some people coming, and I guess he doesn't want to get caught. I don't really know why, but his solution to that is to stand still and, like, put his arms in, like, a very robotic position and basically move as if he is also an animatronic. And it totally works, because the people just walk right by and pay him no attention. So I'm like, so you have enough knowledge to know that, like, you would stand out in a bad way. Yeah. That this animatronic is something that you can emulate because that's normal.
And people would think you are an animatronic because you look so out of place that if you just do this or whatever. There's a lot of things in there that raise that question. And we never get answers to it, and we also don't, like, you don't need them. You don't feel like by the end of this you're like, well, they never answered. Who cares?
Who cares?
They're wrapping people up in cotton candy and drinking their blood through silly straws. Like, it's just a goofy movie. There's a point early in the movie. No,
it's not a goofy movie.
That's a different movie. There's a point early in the movie where Mike and Debbie go into the ship thinking it's just a big top or whatever, and there's, like, these, like, weird curved circular door things. And they're just pressing these buttons on the side of them, and as they press them, they go, like, whoop, 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 or whatever. For no reason. There would be no reason for it to do that.
There's every reason for it to do that. You know, I have to say, I do respect that the Killer Klowns put some whimsy in their living space.
They really do.
They saw Millennial Beige and they said, no.
We reject this.
We despise this.
Yeah, the inside of their big top, like, almost every part of it looks like a black light covered like fun house
it's
thing.
All like neon
weird patterns and stuff like that. There's
random like
a hallway
dots.
just filled with balloons for no reason. There's like we said, there was that one thing Dave turns, and it's a comedic timing thing. He turns to the Terenzi brothers and says, hey, we need to stick together. I don't need to have to go look for you guys later too. And then he turns back around and he pulls a lever to like open a door. And when he does this, the floor falls out from beneath the Terenzi brothers. That's when they fall in the ball pit. That's just there. Yeah. Like, why would that be there?
Yeah. Well, there's a pretty extended chase sequence when all three of them are back in the ship because they go there to save Debbie, and they successfully do. But it's literally just any gag you can think of. Like there's literally a point where they reach the end of a hallway and there's a door, and and Mike opens a door and he goes, another door, and it's like a slightly smaller door, and then he opens that door and he goes, a smaller door,
another door,
and this goes on like for a while.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like there's so many things about this that it is just gags.
Yes.
And it is really funny the whole time.
Yeah, it was really a lot of fun. And of course the whole thing does end in the kind of the final showdown where there I guess he's like, I don't know, the Big Papa alien. He's like I don't know if he's in charge or what. I don't know. But he's way bigger than any of the other clowns. Huge. And this is the one that one of the Kyoto brothers played the part of, and he's named Jojo. Mm. And I think kind of like within the fandom, they call him Clownzilla because he's so big, but I don't know if that's like official. But another thing that was kind of interesting, I read a little factoid about this, is that whole Jojo the Clownzilla thing, originally their vision was for that to be stop motion. But then they were worried about budget and they just like couldn't make it happen. So instead they did another suit because they could do that work themselves at little cost. And then Charles just played the clown. But it would have been really cool to see like an extended stop motion sequence in there. And it would have, cool. I think, really fit too with the kind of silly, campy,
Absolutely, yeah. I still think the effect generally works really well. Yeah. How they ended up doing it. There's only a few spots in the movie where it's pretty bad CGI. There's a scene where one of the clowns is on an invisible motorcycle racing against like a guy in like just a regular car, and there's a zoomed out scene where they're like going around a bend or whatever, and that part's CGI and it looks kind of bad. Yeah. But other than that, like one part where they zoom out, the rest of the chase actually looks like really... It does look pretty good, actually. Fairly good for what it is. It's also one of my like favorite parts in that movie is because he's just on an invisible motorcycle. And he's like ramming the car. Yeah, he's like bumping into the car and laughing. It's stupid. It's just stupid.
Well, and they always do the little special effects when they use their ray gun. It has this like swirly pink laser thing. And that's clearly like, that wasn't practical.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or whenever the clowns like get killed, they spin around in this green thing or whatever.
And they basically like kind of like turn into glitter.
Yeah, and so like the green thing when it shows up is clearly a CGI effect or whatever. And that,
but again, it fits.
Yeah, it fits. It fits really well. Yeah. I don't have like a scariest part of this movie.
Do you have a favorite part or a funniest?
I think my favorite part of the movie is when Dave comes to the police station after Mooney has confronted one of the clowns and ends up getting killed by the clown. Yeah. Dave comes back out of this room and the clown is sitting at the desk, and he, turns around and he's got Mooney like sitting on his lap as like a puppet, and he's got like the ventriloquist, like the dummy lines on the mouth and everything, and his makeup's all done, and he's using Mooney's voice to like mimic him talking, and then he pulls his hand out of Mooney and it's like all covered in blood and just like throws him on the floor. He just like
flops onto the ground.
It's like really disturbing.
It actually is kind of spooky. Yeah. And I think they have like a pretty good line in there too, where like in Mooney's voice.
Yeah, he leans forward and says, "Don't worry, Dave. We just want to kill you."
Yeah. And it's like, ah! Yeah. I think that is probably one of the scarier scenes. It's just like and I think it's more just it's not like super scary, but it's just the concept of it is really scary.
No, I mean that's
of like using a person's remains as a little puppet is disturbing.
They do that same mimicry gag with Debbie. It's imitating Mike, I think. Or Dave, I can't remember.
It's when because Mike and Debbie get the popcorn thrown at them from the popcorn gun when they originally escape. What they don't realize is that those little popcorn kernels are like baby aliens or something. Like
they grow into weird
over time they grow into weird like snakes with a clown head. Yeah. So she doesn't realize that she's dragged some of this in, and she like goes to like change and take a shower and everything, and then when she gets out, these popcorn kernels have transformed, and so she's being chased around her house, and she like runs to the door, and one of the clowns tricks her by being like, you know, Debbie, are you in there? Let me in. And she just like rips the door open, and then thinking it's Mike, but it's actually one of the clowns.
Yeah.
And then there was a really funny scene because obviously she doesn't want to go out that door because there's a clown there. So she slams that door shut and she runs to the nearby window, and she like goes to like jump out the window. And then there's just a group of
four
clowns
holding
a trampoline
at the bottom waiting for her to jump out. Yeah, it's so funny. Like they do all these little gags like that, and it works so well.
It's funny.
It's just so funny.
I just love it.
Yeah. Did you have a moment?
That was, I mean, I did really like that scene. I will also say I liked how can I explain it? I liked the scene where they were doing the shadow puppet thing.
Yeah.
So like basically like one of the clowns came up upon this group of people like waiting at a bus stop, and at first, like, they're all just like, oh, this is just like a clown. You know, he's just like doing a little performance. Like he's kind of putting on a little show for them. And then he starts doing this like hand puppet thing where he's like doing like a shadow puppet, and it's making all these really intricate characters and stuff. It even makes like that famous like painting from like the Revolutionary War or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
the crossing of the Delaware River or whatever. Yes. That was the moment that I was like, how would the clowns even know about that?
Exactly. Like how do they know about
crazy...
this? But he like does this whole thing, and then at one point Dave and Mike actually like come upon this, and Mike's like, stop, because that's one of the clowns or whatever. And so they watch in horror as this clown then makes the shape of this like dinosaur monster thing, and then mimics it opening its mouth and eating all of the people. But when he mimics it, it happens for real. So then he just like eats up all the people.
And then he puts them in his little bag that he has with all the popcorn.
He puts them in his popcorn bag, and he's just chilling, just straight chilling. I thought that was super fun and inventive. I wasn't expecting it to like work out that way.
Yeah. And then the clown displays that he has like a 30-foot vertical leap.
Yes, yeah, because Mike loses his shit and he starts slamming the gas pedal for some reason, even though he's in the passenger seat.
One of my favorite
and lines. He wants to run down the clown, but then the clown just yeet and just...
Yeah, he jumps up into the air.
Yeah, literally like high enough
and
to be on the roof of the building.
One of my favorite things, because Dave was like, what are you doing? And then Mike says, I guess I freaked out a little.
He's just like me.
It's like, dude, you grabbed the steering wheel from a cop and somehow slammed the gas pedal.
Yes.
You freaked out a little?
Freaked out a little.
A little?
Good thing he didn't panic.
Yeah, right? Oh my goodness. Anyway, let's rate this thing.
Definitely.
So like we said, we landed on the same rating, and I'm gonna say that our rating is, I think, it's low for just like a horror movie, or like maybe mid for like a horror movie. It's better than what our rating, I think, suggests.
Yeah, like I think we were both trying to be earnest about the quality of the movie.
Yes.
But it's still like worthwhile because it's a so bad it's good horror movie.
Yeah. So with that in mind, we both came out to the same score, which means our combined average is the same as our score. So it's a 6
even
all the way through. I think some of our numbers varied in different categories, but it just worked out.
We got to the
6.
same thing, just slightly different ways. I think for both of us, the highest category was just the entertainment, which makes sense. That's just kind of that X factor. You know, it's very enjoyable. It's funny. It's It's got just like a fun concept,
Yep.
fun props, fun gags, all that kind of stuff.
It's got the entertainment value. The visuals in the movie are really good, and then like the vision of it, like the directing of it, like the story that they're trying to tell, because they don't spend a whole lot of time trying to explain what's going on.
They just have fun with the concept.
They just have fun with it. Makes it so much better.
Yeah.
Than if they had tried to be serious about it. There is definitely a world where this is a completely forgotten, terrible movie that nobody's ever heard of or seen or watched. But no, this movie it's great.
Yeah.
I'll gladly watch it again.
I think this movie was my lowest score so far in the scares category. But again, that's super subjective.
Absolutely,
like I said, if you are freaked out a little bit by clowns, it's not really something that's super effective on me. I actually kind of like the clown aesthetic. I think it's sort of fun.
Yeah.
But if you're freaked out by them, you might actually get a little bit of a scare out of this one, because
for sure.
the special effects and the practical effects that they do to make these clowns come alive is actually very good.
Yeah, no, it is very good. For me, it was also the lowest category, and just across any of the movies that we rated in terms of scares. I think you put a 2.5. I put a 3. Mm-hmm. For me, anything like less than a 5 for scary movies is kind of the same, barring like a 1. A 1 for me would be like, I need to take somebody who doesn't like scary movies, sit them down to watch this, and they are like actively laughing at the movie,
right,
at some of the scary parts.
Not scared at all.
That would be like a 1 movie. So like anything else, like a 2 through 4 might as well be kind of the same. I think, as we get closer to 5 and certainly above 5, it's more like there's maybe like one scene in the movie, or just like a concept. Like I'm trying to take into account, like you said, like if you were just afraid of clowns, this is objectively a terrifying movie. It would be
horrible.
So like for me, that's a 3. Like I don't find the clowns that scary. There's not really a scary thing about this movie to me. But
I don't think anything really got me.
No,
there weren't really any like. As far as I remember, there weren't really any jump scares. I would say the closest we get to a jump scare is probably that scene I mentioned where Debbie gets tricked at the doorway into opening it because the clown is mimicking. Because you're so like in the escape mode, you're with her on that ride, and then she pulls open the door and there's a clown instead of Mike Tobacco. So I think that's kind of spooky.
Mike Tobacco. Never mind. This movie gets a perfect 10 because of Mike Tobacco.
Mike Tobacco.
It's the greatest name, I swear.
I also did want to add, because I thought this was, I looked up a lot of fun little trivia about this movie. But the ending that we saw was one of 3 endings that they shot, and they tested them to see like how audiences would feel about it, and they ended up going with this one because the audiences responded the best to having a more upbeat ending.
Sure.
But they did try some other endings where Dave died in the explosion at the end. They had one where the Terenzi brothers didn't get out either. So they had one where like a lot of people died, and then one where just Dave died, and then one where everybody survived. And everybody survived was the winner.
The Terenzi brothers surviving is like probably the worst thing about it.
It doesn't super make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. So what happens for this is the Clownzilla gets activated after they, the Terenzi brothers, somehow get out of the thing, get the ice cream truck, then break through a hole in the structure. And they're doing this thing. There's like a clown head on top of the ice cream truck, and they say, "I'm the great JoJo. Don't hurt them," because it looks pretty bleak for our trio there.
Yeah, they're surrounded on all sides.
And so they break through. They're yelling over their microphone thing or megaphone thing, and then all the clowns stop. And I don't know if it's out of confusion or whatever, but we find out, I guess, the big clown's name is JoJo, so I think there maybe is some confusion from the
there
clowns.
May have been like a wait, is that actually our leader?
Yeah. Weird. But so then the big clown gets activated, and they're all like, we need to go. And this is like one of the last comedic lines from the Terenzi brothers, which is like, we can't, it's like a rental or something like that. They're talking about the ice cream truck, and then the big Clownzilla walks over and just like throws the thing across the room, and it blows up. And then when the whole ship goes to take off, Dave has figured out a way to destroy the ship, so it blows up. He escapes by getting into this little clown car that was used in a gag earlier, which lands. He gets out of it, And then did they also get out of the clown car?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they also get out of the clown car, but they're covered in like ice cream and stuff.
Yeah, and they explain that they survived the blast by hiding in the ice cream freezers in the ice cream truck, which I'm like, I don't think that would work.
That's
babe.
not how that would work.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if the whole car explodes, the whole car explodes.
But also by that point, you're just like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Whatever,
man.
yeah.
This also has like, and I think this was just like a supremely 1980s horror movie thing to do, where like it's at the end of Friday the 13th, the original one, right, where she's on the lake and then Jason, the little boy, grabs her or whatever, and they didn't initially have that, but they were like, no, you need to do this because we need to get that one last scare and kind of thing, so they put it in, and it was never supposed to be that. This movie also does that, but it's not scary at all. They're all just standing there, and then pies just come flying. Yeah,
from like the sky.
From the sky or whatever.
Something, and they all get like
They
pied.
just all get pied. But we saw earlier that those pies are lethal and
Not
literally melted a guy.
No.
But they just get pied, and then it like freeze frames and the movie ends, and you get to listen to the cool theme song.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of really, really silly things about this movie. If you've never seen it, watch it at least one time. Unless you're horrified of clowns, don't watch it.
Maybe
it is
just like read
fun.
the Wikipedia and have a laugh.
But it is really fun. You can see all the clowns. There was a scene earlier on. We could just keep listing scenes from this movie, I'm kind of realizing.
Yeah, I mean, they're all fun.
One of my other favorite scenes in this, though, was after Mike and Debbie first get away from the big top and go back into town. The clowns are chasing them, or like chasing is a strong word. They're marching slowly towards the town down this road, and they're walking from out of frame one by one into the frame, and it takes a long time, and we only end up seeing 5 clowns, but like by the third one I turned to you and I was like, I need like half an hour of just this,
clowns
of just
lumbering
a bunch
forward.
of different clowns walking into frame and going down this road. We do, towards the end of the movie, when they get surrounded by all the clowns, there's a lot of them, so you do get to see a bunch of like pretty cool and different and unique styles that they did.
Yep, they put a lot of work into the.
But for the bulk of the movie, there's like 5 main clowns.
There's the main clowns, and then there's more on the ship that kind of come in for the crowd shots. But we really follow the core 5.
Or the scene where they're walking through like the town street with the big device to like suck up the cocoon.
Oh yeah,
you see more of them there too. That's also a fun scene.
Yep,
there's a lot of fun scenes in this movie.
Totally.
Anyway, that is, I think, going to do it for us on this one. But before we go, we're going to let you know the next episode we are doing The Strangers Chapter 1.
It's a new release, part of the Strangers franchise. So if you want to check it out, it's in theaters now.
Yep, it is in theaters now. I don't know if it'll be... Sometimes movies go to streaming by the time, like 2 weeks after they're released. I don't know. Go see it if you want to see it, if you're a Strangers
Google
fan.
it, yeah.
Anyway, excited to talk about that one. It's supposed to be... The people who made it don't even know what it's supposed to be, so we'll get into that when we do the episode. But until then, if you want to talk with us, reach out, have any suggestions about the show or movies we should watch, where should they reach us?
You can find us on social media. We are at First Fright Pod on Instagram and X. We also have a Facebook page called Love at First Fright. And of course, you can send us an email. Our email is firstfrightpod@gmail.com. Feel free to send us your feedback, your suggestions, and what you thought about Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
Yeah. You got anything else for this one?
I don't think so.
Yeah. If you, actually, send me an email if you went to a fair and gave somebody $2 and they showed you somebody just kind of chilling in a room.
Eating Papa John's?
Just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, if you also experienced that, let us know.
If you are the person who was in the room,
definitely email us.
Reach out.
And if you want to come on the show, you're welcome.
I'd have you on. That would be fun.
You could totally.
I don't know what you talk about, but
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, maybe. I guess your experience in the room. I don't know.
In the room, yeah.
Anyway, that's gonna do it for us.
That's all we've got, friends.
Yep. As always, scare well. See you next time.
Bye.